Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Whatever the I Want podcast, where I, your host, Gabby, get to talk about whatever the I want. And today's episode is an incredible episode. Today's episode is where we are celebrating the 50 episode mark and the end of season 1. So I just want to say thank you all so much for tuning in for this long. I was looking at it, and I believe it was January 10th that I started posting onto this podcast. I first had the idea sometime in like November, December. I was out for a walk. I'd already had the idea to make a podcast like years and years before, but I never did it. And now I can say that I've done it. So I remember when I was first like coming up with the name, I was out for a walk and I was just like, this might have been during 75 hard because I still go on outdoor walks now. It kind of imprinted that in me, but it's just interesting to think about. And I just remember being out for a walk. I remember what trail I was on, and I was like, I just need to do it. I just need to make it. I need to like put my balls to the wall and like just freaking do it. And I think that's what I've learned so much this past year is just to do the things that you want to do, no matter how big or scary they seem. And I've found myself like wanting to regress in a lot of ways and just getting in my head and thinking like, is it all worth it? Like, do people even care? All these things. And I know that they're not true. And even when it comes to reading The Artist Way, it's a 12-week like crash course. Like, think of it like that. And so I was at week 11 and I kind of just stopped. I was home for 2 weeks and that disrupted my self-discipline. And so I essentially just like stopped. And so I said I was going to get back on it, and I haven't necessarily, but I am doing the things that the book recommends, which is just like going out on dates and creating and stuff. So I actually finished up my sketchbook, and I will be posting a TikTok of a walkthrough of my sketchbook. And I'm just so proud of myself for still, despite what my mean brain can tell me, like still showing up for myself. And that was, releasing podcast episodes while I was home and, releasing this one. And I remember at some point I made an episode about it of like just feeling so burnt out and like wanting to quit. But I knew that that was ultimately not going to be what was best for me. And, I tried taking breaks where I could. I haven't necessarily read as much as I would like to in terms of fantasy books and things like that. But you know what I have been doing? Learning how to produce music, watching more videos on that. I on my airplane ride to Florida, I was writing in my book. I am currently working on 2 books. And so have I touched them since then? No, I haven't. It's been like maybe 3 weeks since I've touched them. So that's not to say that they're not still there for me to work on. And I think during this break between season 1 and season 2, that will be something that I prioritize more, which is just like propelling myself forward, because I have found myself like wanting to regress in terms of scrolling and, being caught up with the idea of what people think about me. And so I know that there's a lot of big changes coming, and what they are, I have somewhat of an idea, but I know and understand that it's all about the process. And you get told that time and time again, it's all about the process. And here I am at the park. I decided to treat myself because we are celebrating the end of season 1, 50 episodes. It's freaking awesome. So I got a poke bowl, and, there's somebody nearby, and they happen to be playing the guitar. And I'm like, how beautiful is that? It's almost like a personal little show for this celebration that I'm experiencing. And so, yeah, I did my makeup. I got dressed to go to the park to record. And you need to romanticize your life. You need to celebrate yourself no matter how big or small the wins are, because if you don't, what is the point of it all? What is the point of it all if it's not, celebrating these small moments, whether it be getting a new client for your business, whether it be getting an offer on a house that you're planning to sell, or maybe buying a vehicle. Maybe you've never owned a vehicle in your life and now you have one. And it's like, no matter what your circumstances look like, there's always a reason to celebrate, especially like if you're given the opportunity to wake up and to move your body. I don't remember what I was listening to recently, but it was about somebody just being grateful for their health. And there's so much that it was a YouTube video by Kelly Wakasa. It was like, I think he did like a 2-week transformation. And, he was pushing himself in the gym, and he was like, I'm just so grateful to be able to move my body. And how often do we forget that we have that opportunity? That we have the opportunity to use our brains, to get up, to walk, to breathe on our own, to eat on our own, to shower on our own. There's so much that we tend to take for granted, and this is what life is for me. It's being grateful. I remember I was just eating, and at one point I was like, oh, I can't wait to take the next bite because the food was so good. But I was reminding myself, like, savor this one, like, savor this bite that you have. And, there's beautiful music playing in the background. I'm sure you saw the group of cyclists that went by. And it's like, there's so much to be grateful for. When I was heading to the park, I ran into somebody and they're like, oh, what are you going to go do? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go film at the park. They're like, it's so hot. And I'm like, well, I'm going to sit under a tree. And for me, it's like, take advantage of the day. Like, who cares if it's hot out? Bring your water bottle, like, wear a hat, wear sunglasses. And, like, if you have a calling to go outside and to get some sunlight, do it. And we so oftentimes ignore these callings that we have. And I have also been victim to that. And I'm just learning to just trust myself and to trust the process and to ultimately trust my intuition and to trust God. Because so somebody actually commented on one of my TikToks, like, if you could have advice from your future self, would you want to listen to it? And I was like, yeah, I would totally want to listen to advice that my future self has for me, because ultimately I do things for my future self. And my dad was showing me a speech. I'm not sure. I don't think it was Tom Cruise. It was by some actor, and so I will put their name up here. But it was by some actor, and essentially they were saying that the only person that they look up to is their future self. And I love that, because who should I aim to be? I should aim to be this better, wiser, stronger, more diligent version of myself. Why would I want to sit here and pretend or to want to be like other people? Why not sit here and want to be the best version of myself and to aim every single time to progress and to be like the me in 10 years and the me that I ultimately want to be? So I do the things that I do today, not only for my present self, because my present self does need these things, but ultimately it's for my future self. It's because I know that I need to set myself up for success. And what does that look like? That looks like showing up for myself. That looks like going to the gym, even sometimes when I don't feel like it. That looks like making podcast episodes, even sometimes when I'm a little drained. That looks like staying up editing because I have to. And it's also about, like, listening to your body and understanding, like, what you can or can't handle. But I think I've done a pretty good job at, like, pushing myself. Even at the gym, when I'm with people, they'll try to, like, push me for that last rep. And I don't need that push, because I've already pushed myself so much that by the time that they're trying to help me, I literally can't anymore. And so for me, it's like, I don't need your help. And even then, like, I'll tell them, like, it throws me off. Do not help me. I don't want your help. And it's because I know that I can push myself, and I know that I do, and I know what limit I have. And so it's like, when other people try to push you to what they think is your limit, that's where the line is kind of like iffy, like, for example, an employer, they could be like, you should be doing more, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And it's like, one, if it's not under my job description, I'm not gonna fucking do it. Secondly, I do what I can handle. And for me, it's like, I'm a quick worker, I'm a fast learner. So I'm already doing 3 jobs at once. And then you want to throw something else onto me? It's like, no, I'm already doing what I can handle at whatever capacity I have. And so I think that that's what's really important, is just like knowing what your boundaries are and what your capacity is, and not allowing other people to try to cross that boundary, because it's like, no, I know what I can handle, and you pushing me even further is only like drowning me. It's not helping me become the best swimmer. It's just sinking me down. And so I feel like what this next chapter of my life is going to look like is, I had a friend message me out of nowhere and just ask me how I was doing, and it was just really nice to be asked how you're doing. And she was like, "How are you?" And I'm like, I'm shedding some final layers, and that's really what it feels like. It just feels like I'm shedding some final layers of my skin, and just like stopping whatever, I guess, ending whatever cycle that I'm in, because I feel like there's still that, like I said, like that little part of me that's like, no, you can't, or like, just quit while you're ahead, and whatever. And I know that there's some people in my life who contribute to that. And so for me, it's like, okay, either you get with the program or you get lost. And so right now it's just kind of like, you better get with the program, or if not, like, I can't continue to have whatever relationship this is, because it's like, I won't sit here and wait for things to happen or to unfold while I excuse me, while I ultimately have to wait to a certain extent. I think a lot of it is about making it happen. Like, how does the quote go? Like, things happen when luck meets preparation. And so I feel like that's what I'm going through right now, right? Like, I'm prepared. Like, I'm prepared. I'm showing up. I'm doing the thing. And also, like, during this little break, I will be posting more onto like TikTok and just focusing on growing my other social media outlets. How long this break will be, I do not know. I mean, I don't foresee it being too long. But I don't want to just like put a number or a date out there. I will be posting clips from previous episodes and things like that. But I think it's just about giving myself that period of rest, because rest is so important. And I'm not necessarily feeling burnt out right now, but I do feel like it is necessary to give this podcast a little like rest. No TV show goes on all year round. They have a break, and then they come back stronger and better, And so I do have big plans for season 2, and I am really excited about some guests that will be coming on. And so stay tuned for all of that. But ultimately, just know that you should be celebrating your life today and every day. And I don't just say things to say things. I practice what I preach. And again, that's not to say I'm perfect. That's not to say that I haven't like extended my social media time, like this past weekend. That's not to say that, I wasn't like binge watching Ginny and Georgia. That's not to say that which I did crochet. I crocheted yesterday while I was watching it. I was making a Kindle cover, and I personally have like an Amazon Fire. It's like it's so old. I've had it since before college. My mom had got it. So it's maybe like 10 years old, maybe over 10 years old, and it still works fine. And so I've been trying to like crochet things that like will fit it, or that will fit other size Kindles. And so I don't know if it's too small, because I don't have a Kindle to put in there. I did the measurements, but I mean, it's a learning process. So I'm gonna try to like start sewing and crocheting more, and just working on other creative projects that I have, and working on sketching and writing music and writing poetry, and really just putting myself out there in other ways, because somebody had told me like, oh, Gabby, you do it all. And yes, I feel like I do a lot. Do I do it all? I mean, I don't know. But I do know that I have an interest to learn a lot of things, and a lot of it is surrounding creativity. Like to some degree, I do want to learn how to knit, and to some degree, I do want to learn how to, I think it's called needle hole punching. There's so many, like, my creative people know, like, there's so many other projects and other avenues that you want to explore. And so right now, for me, my biggest focus is writing. It's music. It's playing the ukulele. It's also like learning to be present and to come outside and to be still. And, I haven't been meditating as regularly as I have at some points in my life. I mean, I remember when I was like super depressed, maybe like a year and a half ago, and I was meditating all the time, all the time, all the time. And, I haven't finished books that I've wanted to, like, What Happened to You, or part 2 of, what is the name of the book? Part 2 of, I'm blanking out. What is the name of it? Oh, Asking It Is Given. The process. I haven't finished that. Sorry, I keep getting distracted because the guy playing the guitar, they're in the zone, and I love seeing people in the zone. And you should be doing things that put you into that, like, where time is just flying by and I couldn't even tell you what time it is right now. I really couldn't. I have just been sitting out here eating. I didn't check my phone. I'm not doing anything but just being here and in this moment. And so, like, whenever you're around people, whenever you're around friends, whenever you're out to dinner, put your phone down. There's no reason for you to be checking social media or whatever. And sure, I'm one of those people, like, I'll take a picture of my food, or maybe get some B-roll. I'm not saying, like, you can't use your camera, but use it specifically for the camera, not to go onto social media. And I was watching a video that was no, it wasn't a video. My friend Andrew sent me a link to a study that essentially said that people who deactivated Facebook and Instagram were significantly happier, experienced less anxiety, and were comparing themselves less to people. And so whenever I'm in my head, I go outside and I remind myself of how important it is to just be here. Like, you think these birds are stressed about anything right now? No. You think the trees question whether or not they're beautiful? No. You think these flowers wonder, like, will this bee ever love me? Will this bee ever want to be with me or to touch me? No. Nature does not give a fuck about what our brains try to convince us of. And so that's why I'm trying to be more like water. And it was so ironic that a video had popped up on my page on YouTube that basically talked about being more like water. And that's essentially what I feel like is happening right now, is that I'm just learning to just let go. And it's just like, okay, God, you want me to go over here? You want me to go over here? You want me to be pulled this way? Where do you want me to go? I'm going wherever you want me to go. And so, yeah, be more like water. Learn to just flow. If you don't want to go to an event, don't go to it. If you don't want to hang out with this one friend, don't hang out with them. If you want to leave that man, leave that man. If you want to sell everything and travel the world, sell everything and travel the world. We become so logical. Like, you don't know how much, like, I feel like a massive change is going to happen very, very soon. What it will look like, again, I don't know. I have some ideas, but I am just getting to a point where it's just like, I just want to freaking, like, live out in nature. Like, I really want a peaceful life. And, my life is peaceful, I would say, a large portion of the time. However, I think that nature can provide for you such a different peace. And also, two things can be true at one time, because I saw somebody recently that was like, all I want to do is, like, live in the mountains and have a garden, but some part of me also wants to live in a city. And both things can be true at once, and there might be a phase in your life for each thing to happen. So, like for me, sometimes I'm so torn between like living in the city or living out in nature. And it's like, but both things can still be true, because I'll think, oh my gosh, Gabby, you're so hot and you're so cold, and why do you want this, and why are you being pulled this way? And it's just like, well, maybe you are meant to do some of that at like one chapter of your life, but like no book, no movie is worth watching or reading if there's no like kind of chaos, if there's no like, questioning, if there's no like breakups, if there's no like inner calling of like, no, I need to be with this person, or like, no, I really just need to live in Peru, there's something in Peru that's calling me there. Like that inner voice that you see these characters have, that you yourself see from the outside looking in, you're like, no, you belong with this person, or like, no, you belong in the city, that's where your dreams are, you've always wanted to be a lawyer, you need to open up your law firm. Like we see these things outside looking in, but whenever we ourselves are going through it, we're like, oh, no, that's too hard, that's too complicated, that's too much, how will it work? And we just start getting into our logical brain. And so I'm just learning to let go of that logical side and just be like, you know what, I don't care. If it's for the plot, it's for the plot. Take me where you want me to go. It's ultimately just going to show me my path, and like the world doesn't like chew you up and spit you back out and like not make you stronger. You know what I mean? Like anything that you go through in terms of like your financial situation, your relationships, your personal life, your jobs, your career, all those things that you go through ultimately like lead you to where you are. Like even think in terms of like Bad Bunny, right? Like he was working at like a grocery store from my understanding, and now he's like the most streamed artist on Spotify. And it's like he had to go through that experience to push him to be where he is now. And so don't take for granted these little moments that you have that are just shaping you into who you're meant to be, because no change happens from stagnation. You need to get out of your environment. You need to drive down different roads. You need to meet new people. You need to go to different social events. You need to try a new bar. You need to try a new hobby. Like you need to be pushing yourself, because if you do not, no one is going to do it for you. And there's so many people that I see who just live the same old life. Go to work, complain about work, come back home from work, complain about work, drink, get back up, do the same old thing. Their weekends are spent going to the same old bars, seeing the same old people who do the exact same thing, who complain about their lives. And what I'm learning is like, I'm not going to sit here and say like I don't complain. Like I'm not a person who doesn't also experience reality and like has complained. But what I am saying is that I reserve my complaints for very, very close people to me, and I try to also keep it to a limit and try to understand that like this person cannot help me change my circumstances. I ultimately know what can help me change my circumstances, and a lot of it is just like either accepting it for what it is and changing how you react to it, or just leaving the circumstance. I've worked so many jobs where I felt overworked, underpaid, and ultimately from a lot of them, I was let go because I was told I was not outgoing enough. And it took for me to be at one job that I stayed at for, I think like a year and a half, for them to just annoy the living shit out of me and to make me feel so micromanaged and so like wanting to pull my hair out. I literally wanted to pull my hair out. I was like, I am so stressed out because of the way that they talk to me, the way that they treat me, that I was just like, I fucking quit. I quit. But it took for like God to put like my back against the wall. I was just like, you know what, Gabby, if like in that circumstance, I had to learn like you need to leave when you're not feeling valued. And so, every single thing brings you a lesson in life, and I'm not going to live, till I'm 80 and look back and be like, I really wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. I'm going to look back when I'm 80 and be like, can you believe I fucking did all this? And I know that I'm going to be so proud of myself because I showed up for myself today, because I didn't allow for, me being 28 years old, me having moved from Florida to Illinois, not just once, several times. And like, to have gone through all of this for nothing, nothing is done for no reason at all. Everything literally happens for a reason. And so I firmly believe that, like, I literally ran into somebody from middle school, like a week and a half ago, as well as I got to see classmates from high school who I hadn't seen in over 10 years. But the fact that, like, God allowed for our paths to align in that moment, for me to reconnect with people in my life who I hadn't seen in well over 10 years, just reiterated to me how big of a community I have, how strong of a community I have, how loving a community I have, how caring of a community that I have. And it was so validating to be around people who made me feel so seen, because I think in a lot of ways I don't necessarily get the words of affirmation or validation that sometimes I may need. So, like, for example, I had a friend say to me, like, oh my gosh, Gabby, like, I love your podcast. I watched, over 20 episodes. Like, I really, really enjoy it. I see the vision. Like, I'm so excited for you. And then I had somebody who I hadn't seen in over 10 years say, Gabby, your podcast quality is amazing. I think it's so cool. Like, keep doing what you're doing. He's like, I don't know what camera you use, but it looks so good. And so, like, it again was just validating. Like, I know that I'm not at the point where I necessarily know that I can be, but the fact that I am showing up in this way, with whatever resources that I have, and the fact that people are able to validate me, not that I need it, but sometimes you low-key need it. It just makes me feel so, I don't know, happy, aligned, grateful. And that's ultimately how I feel at the end of the day. I feel so grateful for everybody who's tuned in, everybody who's followed, who's subscribed. We have, again, like, viewers in Colombia, in Vietnam, in Russia. Like, how freaking cool is that? And so that just means so much to me, like, to know that not only are people benefiting from this podcast from, my home state of Florida, but from literally all over the world. That is enough for me, and I know that it is only going to continue to grow as I continue to grow as a person. And so, with that being said, this is the end of season 1 of Whatever the Fuck I Want, and I'm so excited to see where season 2 takes us and beyond. And so thank you so much for watching. I am so grateful to each and every one of you, and I will catch you all in season 2. So follow along for updates on when season 2 will be posted. Till then, I will be posting clips from previous episodes if you want to check them out. Oh, and to note, season 2 will not be happening twice a week. It will more than likely be happening once a week. That way I can have time to work on other projects. The reason why I had it originally as, first of all, it was set to once a week. I changed it to 2 because I'm like, go big or go home. And then now I'm like, okay, Gabby, you did it. You don't have to prove anything to anybody anymore. You have a podcast. You are a podcast host. You're doing all the things. So I guess that was for my ego. My ego has been checked. We're fine. We're good. We're doing all the things. So go out there and do whatever the fuck you want.